witnesses may have been responsible for the attempts I have made in my books to provide information that would reach potential witnesses who would be of help to the suffering child. By witnesses, I mean people who are not afraid to stand up for children assertively and protect them from adults' abuse of power. In our society, with its hostility toward children, such people are still hard to find, but their number is growing daily. The spontaneous painting I began to do helped me not only to discover my personal story, but also to free myself from the intellectual constraints and concepts of my upbringing and my professional training, which I now recognize to be false, deceptive, and disastrous in its impact. The more I learned to follow my impulses in a playful way with colors and forms, the weaker became my allegiance to conventions of an aesthetic or any other nature.
I'm not performing.
I did not want to paint beautiful pictures. It was not even my goal to paint good pictures. All I wanted was to help the truth to break through. In this way, when I finally confronted my own truth and was strengthened by it, I found the courage to see with ever-growing clarity how the conventional methods of psychoanalysis block the creativity of patients as well as analysts. This is what I have tried to portray in my books, for the sake of helping the victims of this process to become aware of what has been done to them, and of sparing them the arduous path of the danger of misusing their power, that I must sensitize them to this danger and make it easier for them to hear the signals of the child inside them, as well as of children everywhere. This is something I can do if I help children, victims who have been condemned to silence and who have no rights, to speak. If I describe their suffering from their perspective and not from that of adults. For after all, it was from a child that I myself received crucial information, answers to questions which had gone unanswered throughout my study of philosophy and psychoanalysis, and which did not cease to preoccupy me in the years that followed. It was thanks to the pain of the child in me that I fully grasped what so many adults must ward off all their life. And I also realized why they fail to confront their truth, preferring instead to plan self-destruction on a gigantic atomic scale, without even recognizing the absurdity of what they are doing. These are the same people who, like all of us, entered the world as innocent infants, with the primary goals of growing, living in peace, and loving, never of destroying life. I recognized the compelling logic of this absurdity after I found the missing piece of the puzzle, the secret of childhood, till then closely guarded. This discovery convinced me that if we are willing to open our eyes to the suffering of the child, we will soon realize that it lies within us as adults either to turn the newborn into monsters by the way we treat them, or to let them grow up into feeling, and therefore responsible, human beings. Alice Miller, 1986. Forward. If a fool throws a stone into the water, goes an old saying, even 100 sages can't bring it back. Here we have a perfect reflection of the despair of the bright in the face of stupidity. But an ingenuous child who still thinks in pictures might ask, isn't the world full of stones? So why should 100 clever people try so hard to get back this one? Why don't they look around? If they do, they might find all the emotional overtone it receives in everyday use. For there, if a child brought up this way does not wish to lose his parents' love, and what child can risk that, he must learn very early to share, to give, to make sacrifices, and be willing to do without and forego gratification, long before he is capable of true sharing or the real willingness to do without. A child who has been breastfed for 9 months and no longer wants to drink from the breast does not have to be taught to give it up. And a child who has been allowed to be egoistic, greedy, and asocial long enough will develop spontaneous pleasure in sharing and giving. But a child trained in accordance with his parents' needs may never experience this pleasure, even while he gives and shares in a dutiful and exemplary way, and suffers because others are not as good as he is. Adults who were so brought up will try to teach their children this same altruism as early as possible. With gifted children, this is an easy task, but at what cost? Taking a closer look, we no longer find the meaning of the word egoism so clear-cut and unequivocal. It will be much the same when we examine respect for others, which is often said to be missing in self-centered people.
Oh, God.
If a mother respects both herself and her child from this very day onward, she will never need to teach him respect for others. He will, of course, take both himself and others seriously. He couldn't do otherwise. But a mother who, as a child, was herself not taken seriously by her mother as the person she really was, will crave this respect from her child as a substitute, and she will try to get it by training him to give it to her. The tragic fate that is the result of such training and such respect is described in this book. As soon as we look more closely and examine their origins, we shall see that other moralizing, derogatory words also will lose their popular, clear-cut character.